So as leaders, you have an incredible responsibility to educate the people that you're talking to, right? People don't know about this stuff. I'm a doctor, and I was not taught the things that you're learning here today. And with this responsibility, I want to make sure that you have the information so that you can talk to people and let them know why this is so important, okay? So that's what we're going to do for the next 45 minutes. We're going to learn about the science of the gut. Sound good? You guys ready? All right, let's talk about it. Okay. So, a little bit about me. You saw my video. That's what I'm doing today. But that's not how I started off. I started off as a surgeon. I've been a surgeon now for 30 years, board certified, operating on the gut almost every single day. I used to see the gut. I used to remove pieces of the gut. I used to put things back in. I sewed it together. I did all of that. And in medical school, we're taught the gut is basically where you absorb nutrients. That's it. We don't really talk about the microbiome or the bacteria that live there synergistically with us. In fact, we're taught we should take antibiotics because a lot of times bacteria can get you in trouble. And the reality is nothing is further from the truth. The gut is so important, and I didn't know this. And because I didn't know this, I never respected my gut. I would eat ultra-processed food. You guys ever been to a nursing lounge in the surgery center? It's pretty bad what they have there. It's like donuts, and old sandwiches, and lots of sodas, and so that was my breakfast, lunch, and dinner a lot of times, right? And then what I would do is I would be stressed out all day. I'd go home, have a couple of glasses of alcohol, wine, and plop down in bed, get horrible sleep, wake up the next day and do it all over again, 6-7 days a week sometimes. And so I ended up getting very sick with all the chronic diseases. I have all of them, okay? You look up chronic disease and there I am in the dictionary. I had diabetes, I had high blood pressure, I had heart disease, and then I ended up with an autoimmune disease. And this autoimmune disease was pretty bad. I was on about 12 different medications. I was suffering every day with headaches. I could barely go to work. And I decided at that point in my life that I had to get healthy. But unfortunately, physicians, now are not trained really in the science of health. And still to this day, they're not. We're trained to give you medications and prescription pills to cover the symptoms of the problem. And I was on 12 different pills, prescriptions, and I was still very symptomatic. And it wasn't until I discovered functional medicine that I really understood how to really get healthy and reverse chronic disease. Has anyone here heard of functional medicine? All the diseases out there, virtually all of them, come down to a few root causes. And the most important of those root causes is your gut health, okay? And that's why what you guys are doing here today, listening to, is so vitally important. When I discovered that my own gut was there to protect me from disease, I started respecting it. I stopped eating ultra-processed food. I started getting better sleep, being less stressed, and it completely changed my health. And that led me to talk to my surgical patients on what I was doing. And guess what? A lot of them canceled their surgeries. It was fantastic. They didn't need it anymore. And so now I opened a new chain of clinics that this is what I do. We get people healthy. We get them off their prescription medications. Thank you. I have 15 clinics right now. I'll probably have 25 by the end of the year. That is nowhere near enough for what we need in this country right now. What we need is more people like you, an army of people going out there and spreading this message of gut health being foundational to health, all right? And so let's talk about how do you talk about this. Point number one, your gut is a barrier, right? You've heard this word a few times, right? But let's talk about this barrier. Anyone here play pickleball?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. I'm not gonna play with you, I suck at pickleball, but I will use the analogy. All right, so your gut, if you take it out and you lay it flat, it is about half the size of a pickleball court, okay? That's a lot of surface area. That's 320 square feet. For comparison, the little orange square there, that's your skin. So your biggest barrier, by a factor of almost 10, is your gut to the outside environment. But your gut has to be smart. Your gut has to keep the bad stuff out and let the good stuff in, right? Now, it doesn't just do that. The gut actually communicates with every organ system in your body. And we now know, in the last 20 to 30 years of science, that people who have healthy guts have healthy brains. They have less attention deficit, less depression, less chance of getting Alzheimer's disease. Right? Important, right? We know that the gut and the immune system, we're going to talk a lot about this today, are intimately connected. In fact, 70 to 90% of your immune system lives in your gut, and there's a reason for that. If you have a healthy immune system, not only do you not get sick with like infections or viruses, you also don't get sick from cancer. Your immune system is protecting you from cancer. Right? Believe it or not, many of your hormones are metabolized in your gut. So right now, we're in the United States and all over the world, really, people are suffering from hormone dysregulation earlier and earlier in life. And that's because their gut is not healthy. The symptoms of perimenopause, menopause, and menopause, low testosterone levels, are incredibly magnified when you have poor gut health. And then lastly, cardiovascular disease. Who would have ever thought that your gut is related to your heart health? Well, it turns out they're intimately connected. And in fact, the nerve that goes from your gut through to your brain stops in your heart and is constantly communicating with your heart and telling it how fast to beat, okay? It's called your vagus nerve. And people with poor gut health have more heart attacks. 50% of people that get a heart attack don't even know that they have heart disease. And sadly, 50% of those people die at their first heart attack. If your gut is healthy, there's much less of a chance of you ending up in the emergency room with this situation. It's that important to keep your gut healthy. So let's take a closer look at this barrier. This barrier is 3 layers thick, okay? The top layer is where your microbiome lives. Those are all the beneficial bacteria that live synergistically with you. And they live in this kind of mucousy layer. And then under that, there's a sterile mucus layer. This sterile mucus layer has no bacteria in it. And then under that is your gut cells. These are your enterocytes. Okay, that's another way to name them. These cells are some of the smartest cells in your body. They're only second to your neurons in your brain. And why do I say that? Because they can take a look at everything that they're presented with, and they can decide if it's a nutrient and it needs to come in, or if it's a toxin and it needs to stay out. All right, so these cells, 1 cell layer thick, remember, spread it out over the course, over a pickleball field. This half a pickleball field is doing this every single day. But the problem is, when you have too many insults to your gut, insults meaning like not verbal insults, like you're dumb, like ultra-processed food, antibiotics, I'm gonna name a few. Then this barrier is not healthy. And what happens? Those gut cells, they get attacked. And when they're attacked, they get weak and they separate from each other. And this is called, the junctions between the cells are not sealed anymore, okay? And you get what's called leaky gut. Now, when you have a leaky gut, what happens? The bad stuff starts getting through. The bad bacteria. You also get what's called LPS, which are bacterial fragments that cause a lot of inflammation in the body. Toxins, all the toxins that are exposed to in our diet end up getting through, okay? And the problem is that once these start coming through, your immune system, which lives on the other side of those cells inside of your body, starts going crazy, because now they're going from surveillance mode to inflammation mode. Surveillance is where they're looking for the occasional thing that sneaks through, but because the bacteria and the gut cells are not healthy, everything is sneaking through. And what happens when the immune system starts going crazy? You get what's called chronic systemic inflammation. The inflammation goes beyond the gut to your heart, to your brain, all over your liver, all over your body. And that's where we get unhealthy from poor gut health, okay? You get autoimmune reactions as well because your immune system is on hyperdrive and you start seeing what's called friendly fire. Your immune system starts destroying your normal cells. That's what I was suffering from for many years. You get what's called metabolic dysfunction. That's where all of your cells in your body are not utilizing energy well and you start getting closer and closer to diabetes. You get neurological symptoms like brain fog, depression, mood disorders, and that adds up over time to your neurons degenerating in your brain and getting Alzheimer's disease. And lastly, we talked about cardiovascular risk. This actually causes the blood vessels all throughout your body, but especially in your heart, to start getting plaque when there's too much inflammation, okay? So, an unhealthy gut has a lot of disease-level consequences, right? But the most important one of these are your immune system. Because your immune system is an incredibly important system in your body to fight disease and to fight cancer, but also it's constantly protecting every other cell in your body from many other problems that develop as we age, okay? And so keeping your immune system healthy is critical, and the way you keep your immune system healthy is by keeping your gut healthy. So let's talk about how we're gonna do that. So what causes a leaky gut? By the way, this is Mr. Gut. I made him back in January for you guys, and he said he keep coming back. And Mr. Gut is right now destroying his own gut health, and it's causing his immune system to go crazy, chronic inflammation. And he's doing that by doing this. Number one, this is an important slide, because when you're talking to your people that you're explaining the products to, you also have to give them, like, why is their gut unhealthy in the first place? And these are the 6 most common reasons. Number one, believe it or not, is chronic stress. What does chronic stress do? Well, when you're stressed, your blood flow goes away from your gut and to your brain and to your heart. Think about like how we evolved, right? If you got attacked by a saber-toothed tiger, you need more blood flow to your brain and to your heart so you can run away from it. All the blood flow is shunted away from your gut. When your gut does not have good blood flow, what happens? It can't heal. It can't be effective in what it does. And it actually gets sicker and sicker. And we live in a state of stress all day long. And so this is happening all day long. Number 2, ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed food has a lot of chemicals in it, okay? These are the refined sugars. These are, and pretty much anything that comes in packaging has emulsifiers in it. And these additives are directly damaging to your gut cells. Third, I mentioned this earlier, antibiotics and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. These are like Advil, okay? These are like nuclear bombs to your gut. So, you know, I get it. Sometimes you need an antibiotic. Sometimes you have some pain going on. You need to get an Advil. But try to use them as least frequently as possible, okay? Glyphosate and toxins. Glyphosate is and there's many other pesticides that we put on our food. So it's really important that you know how to wash your produce well when you buy it. Does anyone know how to wash their produce the correct way? It's with baking soda, water and baking soda, okay? That gets most of the glyphosate off. And pesticide off has been shown in many studies. Poor sleep. Believe it or not, just like your brain, your gut is healing itself when you're sleeping. That's when it actually gets a break from nutrient absorption and it can focus on healing these intestinal cells. So you want to get good sleep, about 6 to 8 hours every night, and you want to avoid eating about 3 hours before sleep time so your gut can focus on healing, okay? And finally, alcohol. Alcohol is also directly toxic, not just to your gut cells, but also the bacteria that live with your gut, okay? So, once you start avoiding all of that, then you can give the gut what it needs. And you just heard about armor, right? I mean, if I was gonna design a product for optimal gut health, this is exactly what I would have done.